Welcome back to Tightwad Workshop. Today we're going to be having a look at this very misunderstood tool, the knife sharpening steel. Now I think a lot of the misunderstanding comes from its name. If it was called a knife honing steel, then that would be a more accurate description of what it's intended to be for. What it's really used for is to take a knife that's starting to lose its edge and return it to about 9/10 of full sharpness. Now, you might question why we'd be satisfied with returning it to 9/10 of full sharpness. Well, just imagine this scenario. You're working a long shift in a butcher shop or maybe a commercial kitchen and your knife's starting to lose its edge. Now, you're working commercially, time is money. You don't have time available to get up, walk over to where your sharpening stone is, sharpen your knife, then you've got to wash and sterilize your knife and finally come back to your work and get back to it. Where you do have time to pick up your sharpening steel, give the knife a few passes on it, and get back to work. Now the steel can also be washed and sterilised at the same time as your knives, and most butchers will keep it in a plastic scabbard attached to their belt so it stays clean in between uses. Now you've probably seen videos of famous TV chefs wildly flailing around with a knife on one of these steels. Now they're only doing that because it looks good for the camera, and I can guarantee you that the knife they were using wasn't one that they particularly valued. There's a few different ways to hold the steel while you hone your blade. The safest way is to stand and hold the point of the steel against your workbench like this. Then you just hold the root of your knife blade at a 22.5 angle at this point on the steel, then move it down the length of the steel while you draw it like this. Repeat that about 5 or 6 times. Then switch to the back side of the steel to do the other side of the knife blade. Now I find it a bit awkward to do the back side like that, so I prefer to use this method. I hold the steel in my non-dominant hand, in my case that's my left hand. Then I'll hold the knife like this, maintaining our 22.5 angle, then I'll draw it back towards myself like this. Now I will stop before the blade hits the hilt, but it's there to save me if I do. I find that a lot easier to do the back side of the blade like this. Now of course, if you feel uncomfortable with moving the sharp edge of the blade back towards you, you can turn it around and go outwards. But that can be considered a bit of an aggressive move if you have someone standing in front of you. Now, knife honing steels come in a variety of sizes, and the longer ones are generally speaking easier to use than short ones. They also come in a variety of different surface finishes. This red-handled one has a smooth surface. This is the one that you'd use almost all of the time. And the reason for that is that when your knife starts to become blunt, generally what is happening is the cutting edge has started to roll over, like this. The smooth steel will just reshape that to bend the rolled over edge back into position. This second rod has a ridged surface on it. It's kind of like very fine teeth on a file. This does actually remove a little bit of metal when you pass the knife over it. So generally speaking, what you're going to do is use the smooth rod to try and reform that edge until it doesn't make any difference. And at that point you'd switch to the one that does have the edge on it. You can hear the difference in how it operates here. That will have removed a little bit of metal as well as doing the reshaping. So that will restore the edge, and then when we come to needing to do it again, we'll switch back to the smooth one and alternate between the two as we need to. Now your knife will eventually get to a point where even using the ridged steel won't restore the edge, and at that point you then do have to go back and use a stone to sharpen the blade. Now how long it takes between sharpenings on the stone really does depend on what kind of work you're doing. If you're working commercially and doing 8 hours a day doing nothing but cutting, you might have to do it every few days or once a week. But if you're just working at home in your ordinary kitchen and cutting vegetables, you might be able to go 5 or 6 months between sharpenings. I hope this has been helpful for you. Now, don't feel bad if you've been using the sharpening steel wrong. I certainly had been for years before I started researching for this video. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Tightwad Workshop is filmed in front of a live studio audience.